Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with Figure It Out Productions. The following video is part of our Quick Shoot series.
Hey guys, I'm in Too Many Games and there are too many fucking games.
Hey guys, it's Adam here, and yes, like I said, I went to Too Many Games in Pennsylvania, or Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I flew out here, of course, on the big steel bird, by Frontier, I guess. And yeah, I was at Too Many Games. Now, Too Many Games is a game convention that's held annually. I was actually a guest of the convention. I didn't go, like, you know, just as a regular attendee. They actually flew me out and they put me up and everything. And, you know, my name was on the website. You can come see the stupid guy on YouTube, like, you know, if you want to. I did a video letting people know that I was going to be there. I'm actually... It's kind of cool. There's going to be a lot more conventions that I end up hitting up soon, so I hope you guys keep an eye out for that. But yeah, Too Many Games is just a really cool convention that I actually had a really good time at. I ultimately did a panel and everything, which I'll tell you more about later on. But for now, I just want to give you guys a good sense of, like, you know, basically what it was. Now, the first thing you saw was the arcade room, which we'll be back at. But primarily, one of the things, the big thing that they have is this big dealer table, right? Or dealer room, I should say. And I went around, you know, of course, like shortly after I got there and everything was all settled in, etc. It was time to start looking for games that I needed to pick up. And I mostly went around with my buddy, Shane Lewis, aka Rerez or Rerez TV. And we just started looking for stuff that we needed. Now, so a lot of the footage you're going to see is just, you know, the basic environment of the place and just see a lot of the dealer tables and stuff. This one, for example, was the Japanese table. Like, you know, I mean, it was run by, you know, two non-Japanese people, but they had a lot of Japanese stuff. And just a handful of, you know, like European stuff. There was actually, he was selling like Russian computers. It was actually kind of interesting. Then, of course, there's a guy selling, you know, all sorts of import candies and all sorts of stuff like that. There's people who sell things like t-shirts and custom artwork and, you know, all sorts of stuff. Honestly, the thing was so overwhelming, it was really hard to even know, like, what to film. I just kind of occasionally would take out the camera if anything caught my eye, and then I would just try to get these survey shots. And there's my buddy Shane, and he's looking, this guy had some pretty good deals on, like, lots of stuff. So, like, this whole box, everything you see in there was, you know, $30. Shane didn't ultimately pick it up, but he was highly considering it. Then there'd be tables like this where it's a lot more, you know, organized and everything's individually priced and all that kind of good stuff. And, of course, one of the rules of these type of things is it's best to bring cash, because you can negotiate a little better. But there was surprisingly high number of dealers that were willing to take credit cards, which was nice. Personally, I prefer to buy things through credit instead of cash, but that's just me. But yeah, just tons and tons of dealer tables. And I shot most of this footage on day one. But, you know, oh, that was the line for autographs with AVGN, a.k.a. James Rolfe, as I'm sure you guys all know. But since I was a guest, this happened. I got to actually meet him in person and take a video or a picture with him, which was really very cool. Also met up with Norm, a.k.a. the Gaming Historian. I'm sure a lot of you guys know him. He was at this party we were all hanging out at. I'll tell you a little bit about that later. Went back to the convention. You know, there was a lot of different booths, of course, and one of them was by Stone Age Gamer. Stone Age Gamer is a really cool website. I highly recommend checking them out. They had a lot of good stuff in stock. I've worked with them before. They're showing this off, the new thing that they're coming up with. This is basically a PlayStation EverDrive. It's not actually an EverDrive, but it's the same basic concept. You know, it runs games off of that. So this was the Screenwave booth where a lot of the YouTubers were hanging out. You know, there were Game Chasers, Gaming Historians over there, Pat the NES Punk's there, the Super Best Friends play, they're buddies of mine. Shane and I were there, aka Rerez, and then just Dancing Mario was there to entertain us, which was really very amusing. We found this, a big tub full of Japanese e-readers. Those were $1 a piece. Shane bought one, and then eventually somebody bought the entire box for 20 bucks. It just made us laugh. But yeah, very, very cool. So let me tell you about, you'll see it in a minute, but I want to tell you about this party that we all went to. The first day after the convention, there was a party held for just YouTubers, or at least that was the plan. And so that's where I got to hang out with a lot of the guys. But then they kind of dropped the whole security thing, and a lot of people just started just kind of crashing the party. And so a lot of us left because, you know, especially like James Rolfe, like hell of a nice guy, but he started getting swarmed, and you know there wasn't much you could do about that. Right there, they made up a fake box for the Calico Chameleon, which I thought was pretty funny. So yeah, that was definitely very cool. So yeah, pretty much as we were wrapping up, Shane was like, hey, I'm really hungry. You know what I want to try is Chicago style deep dish pizza. I'm like, well, we're in Philly. He's like, yeah, but there's this place called Uno Chicago Grill. And long story short, it was basically like frozen Chicago style deep dish, but I just told him it was like okay just to satisfy him. This is a clip from that party. Around that time it was starting to get crashed, but there's some faces in there you might recognize. But yeah, cool guys. Now this is after day 2. I had just completed my panel. I want to thank every single, if you see yourself in the video, I want to thank you so much for having shown up to my panel. My panel was great. You guys were the best who showed up. That was my little standing ovation there. Thank you guys. The actual panel, the footage for it, you guys might have noticed them in the front. There was a couple of YouTubers, DeeDave and Shawn Long from RGT85. They were really cool. They came out and they filmed that for me. So you guys will be able to see the whole thing because of them. So I hope you'll subscribe to them and check them out, etc. But yeah, so day 2 of the convention was kind of funny, and I'll tell you about it in a second. But first, I want to show you this. This guy made like he has like a cool a deviant art page, and he just made look at all these things, just like, you know, junk from game consoles that he's like turned into little robots. And I just thought these things were neat as hell. So I don't use deviant art personally, but there you go. Check that guy out, support him, because that was just, you know, something that I thought was really very neat. But oh, and this was so those guys that just mentioned, DeeDave and Shawn Long and Scott Squatch is in there. They had a panel which I attended, you know, because I wanted to support them. And one of the things they did was they had this other guy, this dude in the Batman suit. I guess what his channel is about is he has stuff thrown at him. I didn't really catch the bulk of that, but yeah, that's what they ended up doing was they just brought people up and they handed them like junk SNES carts and stuff, you know, like Mario Paint and like NHL 94, and the whole idea was you're just gonna throw stuff at this kid, and you get to keep the game cartridge regardless if you hit him or not. And yeah, so he got hit. Oh, there he goes. He gets hit by the second guy. So he would dodge some people, and other people would. This guy was the best. Matt here, who just did the rebound. It was nice. There was Vintendo there. Nice guy. But yeah, they had a really cool panel. So more people have like custom artwork and all this kind of stuff. I know I'm getting a little sidetracked here. Let me get back to the point. So day 2, I had my panel at 10:30, and the turnout was fantastic. The line was huge, and I honestly thought it was the line for the bathroom. I was absolutely blown away that many people showed up, and I want to thank everyone who did. Again, that was just awesome of you guys. But yeah, so the panel goes well. The panel's over, and then the people running the place were like, hey, you know, there's another panel right after this, and the guys didn't show up for it. Can you cover their panel? So Shane and I were like, sure. And it was just a subject panel. The subject was like, you know, how do you deal with like nasty comments on YouTube and stuff? Like, you know, what do you do if you're an aspiring YouTuber? So Shane and I were able to talk about it, but it was pretty cool. And then later that night, Shane had his own panel, and I wasn't originally going to be part of it, but he asked if I'd like to join him because I think he liked the way the panels went that he and I had been on. And I'm glad I did because I guess he was going to have a few different YouTubers be on his panel, but due to scheduling conflicts, they all canceled on him, and I was the only one that showed up. So we ended up doing 3 panels in the same day, just the 2 of us, and it was really very cool. Maybe I should talk to him. I'm just thinking out loud now. Maybe he and I should do like a podcast sometime or something like that. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, so back to the point. You've seen so many cool stuff in this video I haven't been able to comment on. There was a gold N64 back there. That table was also selling like cartridge cleaning kits, which was nice because people are always asking, where do you get those things? I didn't know this, but apparently they are some companies that are making new ones, which is great. Hori controllers. They had the PlayStation controller. They had the N64 controller. Shane ended up buying the PlayStation controller and the red N64 controller, but he got a deal on it. He didn't pay what they were asking. So that's my ugly mug wandering around. I had my buddy James Reiner come out, and he filmed some footage of me just so you guys could see me. Like, yeah, I'm wandering around, and here I am looking at games because there's too many damn games. Yeah, one of the things, of course, that I was on the hunt for was original Xbox, as I tend to be. Sad part about stuff like this, like swaps and conventions, is that people don't typically bring a lot of Xbox stuff. So in this case, here's what I was looking for: Karaoke Revolution, but the microphone's required, and I never see it with the microphone. But yeah, I'll get back to the before I get back to the Xbox stuff. I just want to show you this. This guy had a lot of the insanely rare stuff. You know, the Buster Douglas boxing for Master System, Clay Fighter Sculptor Cut. I mean, you already saw it. It was a lot of great stuff in there. And there's my buddy James Reiner right there in the gray shirt talking to those guys. Those guys were really cool, too. They were actually fans of the channel, and they were surprised to see me, so it was really cool. They chatted me up. A lot of people chatted me up. There was a lot of people coming up and talking to me. I took a lot of selfies with people, signed some stuff. It was really very flattering and really very cool. But yeah, those guys are Fancy Pants Gamer. So yeah, check them out. They probably have a Facebook page. But yeah, this guy had a lot of insanely, rare stuff that was really very, very cool. And it was just, you can't buy all that kind of stuff a lot of the time, but it's nice to see. Now, if you're wondering why I'm showing this, there's always a board game dealer, and in one, so like I was just walking past it. I don't have much interest in board games. They just stopped me and they were like, "Hey, who are the two main characters on X-Files?" I was like, "Mulder and Scully," and they're like, "Correct, you win this." So they just gave that to me for free. So thank you to them. Now here's an advertisement for AVGC, which is run by this guy. You guys look, do you recognize him? That's David Crosson. He was the co-founder of Classic Game Room. If by Mark's channel, if you go back and watch the early years, you will see David. That like they ran that show together. And hell of a nice guy. He's a friend of mine. We were hanging out a lot, and I may or may not be going to his convention. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. In September. Just saying. But yeah, back to the point about all the Xbox stuff. People don't bring that much original Xbox stuff to conventions because it doesn't really sell that well. So the stuff that they do bring is a lot of the stuff you would likely already have because it's the stuff that people tend to want more, which is ironic because a lot of the stuff I'm looking for are the things that people don't care as much about, so you don't see them very often. So you'll see my pickups at the end of this video. I think I did pretty well, but it wasn't that much in regards to Xbox, which is what I was primarily looking for. And now we're getting down. This is the end of day 3 here, and we're getting into like fire sale mode. Fire sale mode is the best. That's when a lot of the dealers are like, all right, I'd rather make less money on this and not have to haul it back. It's just not worth as much. So you run around, try to get what you can, if you can for cheap. But yeah, that's pretty much how it all went down. And now it's at the point where they're closing down the whole convention. And so like only like VIPs and stuff. A lot of the YouTubers, there was Gilly there, and Scott Squatch, the Game Chasers, 8-Bit Eric, Gaming Historian, Pat the NES Punk, and there's Shane. Somebody gave Shane this white barbecue sauce, and we just thought it was absolutely hysterical. We've never heard of that before. Oh, and the Super Best Friends player over there to the right. So that was TooManyGames, and it was an awesome convention. I really liked it, and now, of course, I want to show you all the pickups I got from it. I did not go out of my mind. I did not go insane getting tons of stuff, primarily because A, I didn't have a car, and B, I didn't even have I didn't even have like a suitcase. I flew out there really with just my backpack, which is what I was limited to. Because I didn't feel like paying a luggage fee for having a bag. Plus, I just kind of wanted to keep it simple, and that's what I did. So yeah, I got a bunch of cool stuff, in my opinion, anyway. I got a couple of freebies. I mentioned Stone Age Gamer. They know me from I've worked with them in the past. I've done videos on some of their stuff and everything, and so it was nice to actually finally meet them. Shout out to Ryan, who runs Stone Age Gamer. When he saw me, he was like, "Oh, dude, it's nice to see you." And he actually gave me this T-shirt, cool shirt, and this like bag, which ended up actually being really quite useful. Also had my special badge that says I'm a guest. How nice is that? Oh, and Stone Age Gamer also gave me a $10 gift card, which was really cool. I wasn't expecting that at all. Well, I wasn't expecting any of it, but that especially. But yeah, so thank you, Stone Age Gamer.
Now, I want to show you guys the actual game pickups here. First up, I was, like I said, you saw in the video, I was on the hunt for original Xbox. But as I mentioned in the video, kind of struck out a little bit in that regard, just because there wasn't that many people selling OG Xbox, and of the people who were, it was mostly games I already had. But I did manage to get a couple of them off the list. First is Kung Fu Chaos. This was an early Xbox game, actually made by Microsoft. It was nice to actually find this because I very rarely see it, and when I do, it's usually beat to shit or expensive or whatever. But I got it for pretty cheap, so I was happy about that. It was haggled down. They were asking 10. I got it for 5. You gotta haggle. Gotta haggle. At swaps and conventions, floors like that, gotta haggle. Almost always they'll be willing to deal, and if they're not, fuck them. Go somewhere else. There's plenty of options. But anyway, next up, Wallace and Gromit in Project Zoo. There was actually 2 Wallace and Gromit games on the original Xbox, and this one I never see, like ever. So it was really good to get that one off the list. Although I saw it a bunch at the convention. It was odd. Again, it might be a thing where maybe this game's just more common on the East Coast than it was anywhere else. I don't know. Regardless, it's off the list. Now, one console I actually did really well with was the GameCube. When it comes to the GameCube, I think it's a great console, but it was never my first choice, or even my second choice in that generation. My first, of course, Dreamcast, the heart. And second would be the original Xbox. But the GameCube, as much as I like it, I never really collected for it because it's a really expensive console to get into. But I still like it a lot. So I kind of felt like what I might start doing is buying GameCube games that just didn't exist on the Xbox. I'm not interested in a full set of GameCube games by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm thinking now, when I find cheap GameCube games that didn't have Xbox versions, maybe I'll pick them up. So largely that's what happened here. That's why you also ended up with some crap titles, I'm warning you in advance. Looney Tunes back in action. This was actually not the crap game I was referring to. This one was. Although this one was free, so you can't give me too much shit. And we could probably do a great video on this on my other channel, Game Society Pimps Gaming Comedy Channel. Mary-Kate and Ashley, Sweet 16, License to Drive. It's a racing game, it looks like, with Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. Looks like comedy gold, that's all I'm going to say. But it was free, so, I'll tell you which... It was paired with another game, I'll tell you in a minute when we get there. Monster Jam, Maximum Destruction. I think, alright, Mary-Kate and Ashley was free. Looney Tunes, and most of these games were $5. I don't think I paid, with one exception, I don't think I paid more than $5 for any GameCube game. It was usually like 3 to 5 in there. Monsters Inc. Scream Arena. Nicktoons Unite. NBA Street. Oddly, the first one is not on the Xbox. I'm not sure why. The second and the third are, but this one, for whatever reason, was not. Now, this one was, but I picked it up anyway for a special reason. NBA Street Volume 3. The only reason I cared about this is the GameCube version has Nintendo characters in it. It's got Mario, Luigi, and Peach. My buddy Scott, the Canadian, was the one who told me about that. And a guy had it. He was asking, actually I take it back, the guy was asking for, I think it was 10, and he noticed that I had been kind of just laughing about that Mary-Kate and Ashley game, and I started to walk away, and he was like, if you want, I'll do 10 for the 2 of them, because he was asking 5 for Mary-Kate and Ashley and 10 for this, and I think I gave him 7. I think ultimately we settled at 7, because I didn't really want this that bad, and I definitely didn't want that bad. And so $7 for the 2 of them I thought was a pretty good deal. This one was people always, for some reason this game is expensive by cheap game standards. You'll see what I mean. WWE Day of Reckoning 2. So this is a game I really would not pay more than $5 for. However, apparently it's usually sells for like 10 to 20. For some reason I think that's too much for a kind of common wrestling game. But one guy had it marked at 10. And I asked him if he would take 5, and he said yes, so got it. This was the only game, well, I'll show you in a second. Zoo Cube, another $5 game. But this one that I'm about to show you is the only one I paid any kind of real money for, as far as the GameCube goes. Zoids Battle Legends. This is usually a $40 to $50 game. Guy had it for 40, I offered him 30, he took it. So there you go. Nice to get that one off the list, as that's a much less common one. Well, I mean, there's definitely rare GameCube games, but of the, of those spectrum of GameCube games, that's a nice one to get off the list anyway, for whatever. Sorry, I haven't had enough coffee yet. Anyway, there were 2 more pickups I got, and these were the only 2 games I picked up that I actually put any real money into. I mean, a little bit on this, but these were more expensive. And I would not have picked them up under normal conditions, but I knew what they were. The guy knew what he had, I knew what he had, and we had to be the only 2 people in the building who knew what the hell they were. But I had to get them. El Chavo for the Wii and El Chavo Kart for the PS3. And if you're like, what the hell is that? You're not alone. Most people would never have heard of these. What these are is obviously a Wii and a PS3 game. Now, it's just a basic kart racing game, and honestly, I don't even know what the gameplay of this is. It looks like it's just sort of a puzzle-like game, kind of like a Mario Party kind of clone. And if you're wondering, like, why would you pick any of this up? The thing about these games is they were exclusive to Mexico. Now, that never happens. You know, like when games come out in North America, they're released in the U.S., Canada. Generally, they have completely the same releases. Every once in a while, you hear about some game that freakishly only came out in Canada or freakishly only came out in the U.S. And then generally, they also have them in Mexico. These 2 only came out in Mexico, and as far as I know, it's just because of the character. El Chavo is very popular, a cartoon character in Mexico, and of course parts of Central and Southern America. But up in North America, it was specifically the US and Canada, we've never heard of this character for the most part. So they had no reason to release the games here. And the only reason I even know about them is because a couple people pointed out in videos saying that people had like complete PS3 or complete Wii sets, at least they thought they did. They didn't know these games existed. They don't end up ever appearing on official lists, even though they're completely official releases. They're not particularly expensive games. I ended up paying $40 for each of them, which is basically just sub-retail. The problem is just finding them. It would have cost me more to, of course, even be in Mexico, which I would not do. I would not go to Mexico just to get these. And if you buy them online, it'll generally cost you more because you're kind of paying for the convenience. This guy had them. They were sealed when I bought them. I opened them because I don't collect sealed stuff. But yeah, it was very cool to just get these for the novelty of it. But yeah, really, that's all I really spent any money on. I think I did pretty well, all things considered. I had a good time. I really didn't spend that much money. In fact, I spent more on these 2 combined than I did the rest of this stuff combined. But still, I had a good time. I think it was awesome. So thank you again to Screenwave Media, who hosted TooManyGames, for bringing me out there, putting me up and all that. Thank you to Shane Lewis, aka Rerez, my buddy. He had his car. He drove down from Ontario, and we just used his car to go drive around to a bunch of different places. We had a really good time. It was really awesome, and he also helped me out by joining me on the panel. And then I joined him on his panel. It was just a great time. Thank you again to everyone who came out to meet me. I know that some of you didn't get to see the panel, but you still came out anyway, because I shook a lot of hands, took a lot of selfies. It was so much fun. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget, my panel will have a separate video. You can check out the entire panel if you want to see it. And we also checked out another game store, but more on that later. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all later.